Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for the LL3 podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Saturday, July 4th, 2020. So let us begin. Ouch! Alright. Yep, it's that time. I expect people to shoot some fireworks and maybe some other things as well. So hopefully everyone will be having a safe Independence Day. The Declaration happened 244 years ago on this date. And many people don't really feel the love of liberty or the natural born rights. Too many tyrannical edicts they want us to obey. Tell us how to do, wipe our rear ends and all that. COVID-19 pandemic is a 24/7 excuse for everything. And many other businesses around the country, including Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Broward County to be exact, have been cited, got all these complaints. And the question I have for the clowns in Broward County and the city of Fort Lauderdale, how much will you pay me to snitch? How much? Nothing at all. So that's how the whole thing I look at is these clowns, unappreciative clowns, edicaholics, don't like that. So always look at the whole revenue thing, because sometimes they had to suspend the bus fares and other things as well, the libraries and so forth, the courthouses. They try to find a way to collect revenue. Well, the truth of the matter is, with this COVID-19 edict orders from bureaucrats and so forth, and the mayors and even the sheriff, okay, the most powerful elected servant, bellied up. Yeah, King George's minions, field peasants. Yeah, I was in the Hemisphere district, and they had to close the bars down at midnight. There's no alcohol sales from midnight to 5 a.m. But anything else can open up. Let's go after the bars, not the big so-called essential shops. It's called a witch hunting. War on the middle class. Very tyrannical indeed. King George is climaxing in his grave as all this is going on. Yeah, I am along the new river of Fort Lauderdale, just kicking back. So, let's call him Edict Man. Kind of yellow shirt. Edict Man, Edict Man, Edict Man, yeah, I'm doing my job. That's right. The sister says bend over. He goes, how far, please? And it goes down to us. You know what? I give you the big middle finger. You can't even take care of your own buildings. You got to tell everyone how to live. Forget about it. Meek and unmeritable. You see all these luxurious pigeonholes along the new river. That's okay. It's exceptional. Let's harass the mom and pop facilities. Let's ruin the local economy and have big corporations take over. It was cute because even I was talking about the whole thing with Ghislaine Maxwell being charged. The question is this. If it goes through, how many people are on that black book list are funding Black Lives Matter or Antifa or both? So all those people, yes, I get my money from pedophiles and human sex traffickers. If that's the case, that would be hilarious. The whole faction game, you know. They can do it, but we can't. It's called exceptionalism. Well, also I tell everyone out there, I never say 4th of July, Happy Independence Day for the United States. And to all the freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers worldwide. You always got, you have natural rights as well. Because the truth of the matter is, these edicts never, ever supersedes our basic rights. including the U.S. and Florida constitutions, state constitution. So these are like fantastic times, folks. But it's time for the businesses. We should all ride around the business and tell the city and the county to stick it up their anal rectums. You know, the anus is for all I care. They're nothing more than a bunch of chumps, hired fools, pencil pushers, many of them. They don't make themselves look so pristine. Oh, yeah, I really care about my community. Come on. Yeah, I know I'm digressing here, but forgive me, folks. I just had to let these things out. I feel better when I do it. It's all a matter on principle, okay? So every folks out there early this morning, wave your American flags. If you have an anti-UN flag, bring that too. If you have a Gadsden flag, wave it. If people get offended, who the hell cares? Don't go back in the corner with your Palmolive soap and leave me alone because you're contaminating space. All the trophy kids are willing snowflakes and saps, regardless of demographics. Y'all, these little weasels out here will go on their hands and knees for the system, and they're gonna get a good slap in the face by them later on. Love to dish it out, you better learn to receive. Yes. So that's why I'm not too fond when it comes to tyranny. I defy it all. The mask, police brutality, government tyranny, imperialism, illegal wars, etc. They're all part of the problem. We could be the solution. Each and every one of us here have the power to enlighten one another. So don't believe you're a damn peasant. Screw the whole shackles and chains. Go, I'm a victim. Feel sorry for me. It doesn't cut it. We've all been in the same. We've all been elements of tyranny one way or the other. You want to treat us like a bunch of little weasels and house and field peasants, okay? Forget about it. Don't fall for the mind control propaganda machine. If they're straightforward, say, look, what happened to us is from a bioweapon, I respect that. But they're all like playing this, we can't really say anything, but we assume we're going to do it this way. Come on. A lot of these people in politicians right now, regardless of federal, state, and local, and global, they're like a bunch of juveniles, man. All wearing diapers. Me. My gang is better than yours. This whole faction stuff. Get a grip, folks. You're just spinning your own, like a bunch of hamster in a wheelbarrow, you know? So, all right. Enough of my digression here, my rant. Thanks for your patience. So, you know what? I'm going to decide to take the initiative here. I'm looking at a few things. And this one, oops, sorry about that. This one here came out yesterday. Late yesterday. And this is from Brandon Smith. Is America heading for civil war? Of course it is. This is what he has to say. Oops. Get that. All right, good. This is what he has to say. In last week's article, I discussed the issue of American balkanization. Yeah, so folks, check it out. Brandon Smith is very good. I always admire his work. And the rapid migration of conservatives and moderates from large population centers and states that are becoming militant in their progressive ideology. In my home state of Montana, there has been a surge of people trying to escape the chaos and oppression from leftist states. Some are here because of the pandemic and the harsh restrictions they had to endure during the first lockdowns. Others are here because they can't stand the hostility of identity politics, cancel culture, and race riots. Either way, they are fleeing places with decidedly leftist influences. Uprooting and moving to an entirely new place is not an easy thing to do, especially in the middle of a pandemic. For many people, such an idea would have been unthinkable only a few years ago. Believe me, moving to a place like the Rocky Mountain Redoubt is not easy transition for most. Hopefully, these people understand that they will have to make extensive preparations for the rough winter and be ready to work in the spring and summer months to survive. Maybe they don't realize yet how tough it is here. maybe they know and don't care. This is how a bad situation has become. Rational and reasonable people are willing to leave behind their old life and risk it all to keep a margin of freedom. In my view, it is clear that the political left has gone so far off the rails into its own cultism that there is no coming back, and there can be no reconciliation between the two sides. So we must separate or we must fight. I advocate for separation first for a number of reasons. First and foremost, conservatives are primary producers within American culture. If we, the leftists, to their own devices, there is a chance they will simply implode it on themselves and eat each other because they have no idea how to fill the production void. The recent developments in the defunct Chaz Chop Autonomous Zone are a perfect example. Those don't have the slightest clue what they're doing, and it shows. Second, if conservatives separate it provides a buffer that helps diffuse future random conflicts. When you force the two sides into a box together, eventually they will find a reason to try to kill each other, putting some distance between them and us reduced to Agnes. Third, the leftists decide they don't like that we have separated and are thriving on our own, and they attempt to antagonize or attack us where we live. Then we hold the clear moral high ground when we smash them into pieces in response. I fully realize that the third outcome is most likely. War is probably inevitable. Why? Because the collectivists and narcissists are never satisfied. They desire unlimited control over the lives of others, and they will use any means to get control, no matter how destructive. Separating from them is only a stopgap that allows us to take the superior position. Through peaceful migration, we set the pace of the conflict. Eventually, they will come after us, and there will no doubt about our response then. There will be no way to spin the result in their favor, no way for them to play the victims. Some people might question if we are actually to the point of open conflict. They might accuse me of doom mongering. Others may argue that conservatives are acting passive and that they will never take any action. These assumptions are common right now because such people do not understand how history progresses and how group psychology evolves. Domestic war is not something pursued lightly or haphazardly. The average person knows, at least subconsciously, that it is better to seek resolution or to remain patient as events unfold. Conservatives aren't stupid. We know that before any civil war is first a culture war, and we know that the cards are stacked against us, and that if we act rashly in any way, we will lose a position in that culture war. Yeah, they'll just blame them for the problem. You got people like that love dishing out but hate receiving. Okay, so we let the leftists spit and rage like madmen for a little while. Each day, people who were on the fence when it comes to the culture war are witnessing this and come over to our side because we're the only side that is sane. The drawback is there comes a point in which calm professionalism might be wrongly perceived as weakness, and when people sense weakness among conservatives, they might run into arms of the extreme left, thinking that it's safer to join the winning team. Sorry about that. I believe conservatives have not sucked into any reactionary stance yet because they are thinking logically and refusing to play the game for now. In some ways, it is how we enter the fight that is more important than the fight itself. To understand why, we have to look at the bigger picture beyond the left-right conflict. As I noted last week, the political left is a tool for the greater agenda. They are being used as a weapon of chaos by global interests. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a conspiracy fact. Millions of dollars have poured into ANTIFA and BLM-related groups through elitist donors like George Soros and his Open Society Foundation, as well as the Ford Foundation. Globalist institutions like these have been influencing the extreme left for promoting identity politics for decades. This is openly admitted. What we are witnessing is 2020 is simply the culmination of a half-century long propaganda campaign that created the modern feminist movement, victim group status, entitlement culture, etc. The reason for the agenda should be obvious. Chaos creates fear. Fear creates division and crisis creates opportunity, as globalist Rahm Emanuel once bragged. Meaning, the extreme left is going to start a war because that's exactly what the global elites create them for. Not some might suggest that this places conservatives in a catch-22 position. If we don't fight back then, we will look weak. We will be culturally isolated and eventually overrun and wiped from the history books. If we don't fight, we are giving the globalists what we want, a civil war that will tear America apart. The suggestion by certain special interests will be that there is only one way out. Use government power to turn the tide to our advantage. In other words, institute martial law. I don't really see it that way. Once we understand that a fight is coming regardless, our task is to position ourselves with the most advantage possible while keeping our culture and our principles intact. This includes our belief in constitutionalism, civil liberties, and opposition to tyranny in any form. Winning the fight is important, but maintaining our principles in the process is more important. To becoming a monster to the fight, the monster is the same as losing. When the left comes for us, and they will, the fight will be won by us, not government. We cannot hand even more power to government in the name of security. We cannot become the fascists the leftists accuse us of being. I am often asked these days about my view of the 2020 election and how will it turn out. I did predict Trump's election win in the summer base of 2016 on the idea that Trump's presence in the White House would drive the left insane, as well as give the globalists a perfect conservative scapegoat for the economic collapse they have been engineering since at least 2008. Trump's cabinet of global elitists suggests his complacency in this plan. We still live under a one-party system, pretending as if it's a two-party paradigm. Furthermore, I am not convinced there will even be an election in November, with pandemic lockdowns surely returning as infections spike once again. The U.S. economy will be in ruins by winter. Voting in a traditional fashion will be difficult or restricted in some states, and mail-in or digital ballots will not be accepted by most conservatives because of their history of being used to rig election outcomes. Look at it this way: if Trump wins or delays the election, the left will riot and the civil war will be triggered. Conservatives will have to deal with the violence of the left while also dealing with potential martial law, which we cannot tolerate or support either. If Biden wins, it will be perceived by many conservatives who will still think elections matter as a stolen presidency engineered through fraudulent ballot practices. To summarize, if Trump is still in the White House in 2021, get ready to fight back against leftist mobs as well as martial law measures. If you believe in freedom, realize that fake conservatives that support government tyranny will be as much as a problem as Marxist lefties. If Biden enters the White House, expect him to immediately implement unconstitutional policies, including medical tyranny, gun confiscation, and martial law. Either way, it ends in war. So expect that, folks, and I always suggest nullification, 10th Amendment. It is also the classic false choice narrative. if you choose Marxism and communism, or you can choose fascism. Communism being the elevation of the weak and the oppression of the strong in the name of arbitrary equality, and fascism being elimination of the weak or less fortunate in the name of making more room for the strong. Both sides rely on totalitarian government to assert dominance, and both sides benefit the elitist establishment. The great con is that there is no third option. When there is the non-aggression principle, citizen defense, voluntarism, and freedom. Frankly, I almost prefer a scenario in which Biden and the left are perceived as stealing the election, that at least then conservatives will be fully united once again and ready to fight, instead of passively relying on the Pied Piper like Trump to save them. The truth is, in 2021, we stand at a massive nexus point in human history. We are spiraling into a decade and a fight that will decide the fate of liberty for the next century or more. On one side stands the global elites and the youthful idiots on the hard left. They will push for a collectivist system that erases all memory of the constitutional republic we once knew, and they will get help from fake conservatives that value power over principle. On the same side stands that the people that just want to be left alone, free minds. The people don't need or desire to have power over anybody. If humanity is to have a future at all, the second group must continue to exist and prosper. They are a wellspring that feeds us, that gives us something to hope for. If the elites and the social justice mobs take control, there could be no future for our species. They desire what they cannot and should not have. They value only what they can take from others. They have a hunger that never be satiated. They will devour the world until there is nothing left, while claiming they stand for the greater good. War cannot be avoided with such people. The only question is, will liberty-minded people stay the course and stick by their principles, or they will fail to the darker impulses to ensure victory? That is a legitimate question. So he has solid points on this matter. And this is why, what you want to do, folks. Because remember, it may be in America, and it happened in the United States, but this can affect us worldwide. Multiple conflicts are happening, and that we are considered the epicenter of the global war, global conflict. I'm going to have to agree with Sibel Edmonds on this. And she's very spot on from NewsBuzz. You always got to check her out. Tell Loki Luck the Third sent you. This is one of the most disturbing times. Everything's being socially engineered. COVID-19, the death of George Floyd, 9/11, they all have in common. They were socially engineered. Everything was socially engineered and became a 24/7 excuse for everything. And that's the damn truth. It's been planned for a very long time, way before I was born. But everyone has the opportunity to overturn it. It's not going to happen overnight. You always got to contemplate long view. The century of endurance, my friends. Do what's right. Support individual liberty over security. And be ready and always remain vigilant. And that's what it has to say here from NewsTarget.com. Came out yesterday. Interesting article by Michael Adams. New intel, Communist China providing automatic weapons to ANTIFA, Black Lives Matter, some stored in Democrat-run government buildings, including East End Complex building in Sacramento, Block 174. Interesting. Let's just see what they have to say about this. We have a new bombshell, new intel to share you with today that connects some recent dots on the emerging violence and civil war attempt from Black Lives Matter, the militant terrorism wing of the Democratic Party. Summary of you'll find in this article. lot of stuff here. Oh, yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm going to give you a whole summarize here. Communist China supplying full auto AR-15 mobs to Black Lives militants in America. A shipment was recently indirected by CBB. Interesting. California Governor Newsom is involved in a $1 trillion money laundering operation with Communist China to keep him in power. He's funneling taxpayer money to China, and they are laundering and funneling money back to him. That's from the LA Times. Using laundered money, Governor Newsom is stockpiling automatic weapons, ammunition, and gold in the underground storage complex of 1616 Capitol Avenue in Sacramento, the East End Complex, Block 174. Source from a former employee who worked there. Governor Newsom is plotting with China to have communist troops invade America via California and other states and to overrun and occupy the United States, turn it over to the communist Chinese rule. Can we say treason? Damn straight. China's EMP weapons developed using technology stolen from the USA are planned to be the first wave Pearl Harbor event that is set it all off. Official report to the White House. See the link below, emptaskforce.us. All right, so look that up, folks. Obama helped set up a civilian military force using Operation Fast and Furious gun smuggling to arm the narcos. There's a big link on that, too, so check it out. Those same narcos, now trained by Communist China, Chinese military instructors, are prepared to invade America with the aid of heavy weapons. DHS source via Hodges, link below. So you could say they call it CHICOM, okay? The Civil War America is facing won't be lightly armed soy boys, but rather heavily armed, full auto-wielded Black Lives Matter militants, Mexican narco gangs, and communist Chinese troops operating the protection of Governor Newsom. Hundreds of companies across corporate America are now directly funding overly supporting Black Lives Matter terrorists as part of the Civil War effort to destroy America. And there's a big list of these companies. We begin with the recent news that China was caught in attempting to smuggle 10,800 assault weapons parts in Louisville, Kentucky. The news was announced by U.S. Customs and Border Protection on July 26, 2020. At the Express Consignment Operations hubs in Louisville, U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers seized a shipment from China that contained over 10,000 assault weapon parts being smuggled into the country. The shipment was seized on May 22nd. Officers inspected the item, which was arriving from Shenzhen, China, destined for residents in Melbourne, Florida. Ooh, interesting. That's like right in the middle of Florida. The parcel was manifested as containing 100 steel pin samples. This is a common practice of smugglers manifesting the contraband as a harmless or legitimate commodity in hopes of eluding further examination. The CBC announcement did not offer any specifics of what exactly assault weapons parts, but we have since learned from another source that the parts were drop-in full auto modes for AR-15 rifles. A full auto drop-in parts are very simple but highly legal parts in which to turn semi-auto AR-15 into full auto AR-15, which is illegal for civilians to own. Such parts replace a small number of existing parts in the AR-15 trigger mechanism and safety selector. Because the parts are very small, a high number of them, such as 10,800, can be hidden in shipments that claim to be other things such as machinery, parts, or samples. This means China was sending 10,800 full auto rifle modes to Melbourne, Florida, which no doubt serves as a distribution hub for moving these pieces nationwide. You might reasonably wonder why China would be sending full auto rifle modes to the USA. The answer is that China supports the civil war attempted by Black Lives Matter, and China is coordinating the BLM terrorists to arm up their militant troops across the country, upgrading their legally acquired AR-15 weapons to full auto status, which makes them as far more formidable in a kinetic assault. Melbourne, Florida is known as a human trafficking, drug trafficking, weapon trafficking mecca, with smuggling routes that are well established across both land and water, with even access to both Orlando and Miami airports. Contraband that comes into Melbourne is easy to distribute across the USA within days. The human trafficking is so bad in Melbourne that every law enforcement officer working the area has contact with human trafficking operations there. We now believe that some of these full auto weapon modes end up under the control of Democrat governors like Newsom, the California governor who actively seek to see America destroyed. Weapons, ammo, gold storage, East End Complex, Block 174, Capitol Building, Sacramento, California. Several weeks ago, we learned from a source in California that the East End Complex, Block 174 of the Capitol Building in Sacramento, California, has a vast underground storage complex that consists of multiple floors, much like giant underground parking garage. The construction alone cost $250 million. From JonathanFain.com, the firm has designed the facility. This project is an ambitious mixed-use development to consolidate the headquarters, operates the three major developments of California state government. 6,400 employees, departments of health services, education, and general services are housed in the 5-building, 1.5 million square foot development, along with 1,500 parking spaces. The Department of Health and General Services are housed in the second portion of the capital area, East End Complex, known as Blocks 171 to 174. This design-built team is made of Clark Construction and Gruen Architects, who complete this $225.6 million complex. There's a link to look at the building yourself. Pretty massive indeed. Very intriguing too on these claims. Ooh, if this a fact? Treason's alive and well in Sacramento, California, right? From our source who served as an employee inside the building complex for several years, tells us that the underground storage facility in this building house vehicles, firearms, ammunition, and gold bullion will be more. What you'll hear more from the source below. Governor Newsom sent $500 million to China for a completely fabricated COVID-19 mask deal. Governor Newsom is fully aware of this operation had been bought off by China, which is covertly providing loans to Newsom to keep him in power and prevent California from defaulting in an epidemic financial collapse, as Paul Preston reported on Agenda 21 Radio News. Washington, D.C. sources in Washington, D.C. speaking under condition of anonymity have revealed to AEN that California Governor Gavin Newsom has entered into discussions with the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China to loan the state of California $1 trillion by the way of a collateralized loan. See, the whole thing is this, folks. There's a big double-crossing deal for the people in California, okay? That's what this person is doing, according to these sources, all right? And it says here, Newsom is making payments on the loan from China by funneling more money through other corrupt means, such as recent bombshell that finds Newsom helping Communist China receive $1 billion in coronavirus aid, as according to WesternJournal.com. California announced $1 billion outlay to purchase N95 respirator masks. The governor's advisors have so far declined requests for information about the agreement with BYD. The Chinese electric car manufacturer hired to produce the mask through the state has already wired the company the first installment of $495, the Times reported. Newsom, who has been praised by his efforts for the slow spread of disease, bristled on Saturday at suggestions that his administration has been too slow to explain a deal that will cost California taxpayers 30% more than this January budget would spend on infectious disease prevention for an entire fiscal year. Furthermore, he hasn't bothered to brief California legislators on what exactly he agreed to. This is because this isn't $1 billion for masks. It's part of a massive money laundering operation to funnel money to China so that China can funnel money and weapons back to Newsom in preparation for the civil war that they are launching. Nobody believes Governor Newsom is spending $1 billion on N95 masks. It's absurd, just a cover story. It's like Christy Todd Whitman saying on September 18, 2001, on Ground Zero, the air is safe to breathe, the water is safe to drink. Very similar. So Governor Gavin Newsom. Oh, hold on here. Ooh, wait. Even the Los Angeles Times was shocked by Governor Newsom agreeing to send $1 billion to China for an N95 mask, as reported by the LA Times. And remember, LA Times is considered a left-leaning newspaper, so they're a little bit stunned themselves. All right, Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to spend almost $1 billion in taxpayer funds to buy protective masks drew national attention as an aggressive move by California to solve one of the most nagging problems on the coronavirus crisis. But almost 2 weeks after he announced the deal during a cable TV interview, very few details have been disclosed. The governor's advisors have so far declined a request for information about the agreement with BYD, the Chinese electric company car manufacturer hired to produce the mask. Through the state has already wired the company the first installment of $495 million. Seriously? An electric car company in China? Folks, this is corrupt and dirty as it gets, but it is all part of a money laundering operation that sends money to China so that China can send clean money back to Newsom, which he diverts and uses to buy weapons, ammunition, and gold. Woohoo! Let's see what else is in here. Governor Newsom is stockpiling weapons, ammunition, and gold at the Capitol building in Sacramento. It is back to the EZN complex in Sacramento. One source says they personally witnessed insane amount of ammunition, pallets at a time, being delivered and stored there. Harkening back to the DOJ purchase of 2 billion rounds of ammunition under President Barack Obama, who also said he wanted to build a civilian army that is just as powerful as the U.S. military. By the way, Obama called his civilian national security force, as AmericanThinker.com explains. Barack Obama said. These are good links too, folks. Check it out. Very good stuff. We cannot rely on our own military order to achieve the national security objectives, all right, that we set. We've got to have civilian national security forces that is just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded. And he said that, if I remember, that was during his presidential campaign, okay, when he was running for president. I do remember that. And in addition, one pallet of 5.56 ammo is well over 50,000 rounds, by the way. So the ammo stockpiled by Governor Newsom is off the charts. And it appears he got ammo from the DOJ under Obama, as well as the new ammo funded by Communist China. Essentially, Governor Newsom has been stockpiling weapons and ammo in the preparation for civil war that has been helping to make it reality. I gotta check out this Dave Hodge shows too. Back to Obama. How do you create a civilian military force? You stockpile and in weapons in democratic control cities like Sacramento. You work with Communist China to import full auto weapon mode parts to upgrade your civilian forces to military-grade automatic weapons, and you put more weapons into the hands of your loyalists through legalized gun-running operations like Operation Fast and Furious. And you can check out that interview of the Dave Hodges and Bob Griswold. Okay, so you can check it out. And there's some interesting things about here. And it says Griswold has to say, if you look closely at Chaz, this is from the 45 mark, 15 mark, yeah. But check it out. It says here that Griswold says if you look closely at Chaz, they were passing out AR-15s. Where did they get those AR-15s from? They're in a closed area. Where did all these AR-15s just miraculously appear from? That's true. There was a lot of reports on that. And Hodges goes, well, I can tell you what my intelligence sources tell me. Pre-stashed weaponry suspected courtesy of Communist Chinese money and backing. And Griswold said, of course, we mentioned this many times that Long Beach, California was the Chinese way of bringing it to the country. The southern border was also the way to bring it in. And they funded these people. I was wondering why the FBI and the ATF didn't go in when they were passing out AR-15s to minors in Chaz. Go figure. Yeah. Obama's Fast and Furious gun running operations. Barack Obama, sleeper cell president, who has meticulously plotted to see American overthrown and destroyed, launched Operation Fast and Furious in 2009 under the control of the DOJ Attorney General Eric Holder, which he is a piece of garbage. That was Janet Reno's assistant. A treasonous criminal who continues to work to undermine America today. Under Operation Fast and Furious, the ATF was ordered to allow Mexican drug gangs to purchase high-caliber weapons from U.S. drug dealers in Arizona. These guns, Obama and Holder knew, would later be used in gun crimes in the United States, allowing President Obama to decry gun violence and call for new restrictions on the Second Amendment. Of course, CBS News published the full timeline of Operation Fast and Furious at this link. So look it up, folks. In the essence of this operation was a way for Barack Obama to put heavy weapons into the hands of Mexican drug cartels. We have since learned that the narcos are being trained by communist military instructors. All right, so completing the circle of anti-American warfare tactics that involve both China and Mexico. Remember that China has for many years have been engaged in chemical warfare against the United States through the manufacture and distribution of fentanyl, a highly toxic drug that is right now killing over 60,000 Americans a year. That's more than all U.S. casualties in the Vietnam War combined. But now, about how is fentanyl brought into the United States? Mexican drug cartels and smuggling routes, which are protected by Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom, were still related, by the way, as part of their open border policies. Club of Rome scumbags, right? The narco pays tens of millions of dollars each year to California Democrats to maintain the open border policy for drug smuggling and human trafficking. Importantly, these same routes will be used by communist Chinese to invade the United States of America. Once the Civil War achieves sufficient destabilization, that's why China is dumping full auto weapon modes into the continental United States, because it is the destabilizing vector that will lead to mass chaos, death, and blood in the streets. This will stage for fully trained Chinese-trained narcos to invade Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, aided by the guns they acquired via Obama's Operation Fast and Furious. At the same time, Democrat-controlled areas like Sacramento will activate their stored weapons and ammunition, hand out guns and ammo to left-wing loyalists like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, urging them to kill conservatives, Christians, whites, and Trump supporters. And thereafter, to probably get anyone else that thinks differently. You know, that's how these psychopaths contemplate, and they're zombies, all right? And it says here, the multi-facet attack that's about to hit the United States, while 99% of Americans are totally obvious to reality. Dave Hodges' Common Sense Show, it's a good website, check it out, has extensively documented the interactions between Mexican drug cartels and Chinese military troops, CHICOMs, okay? See how this analysis and stories like Mexican oil official says UN Mexican cartels and Chinese are provoking a border war, or leaked documents show Chinese intent to commit mass American genocide following the occupation of America. In effect, America is about to be hit with a multifaceted attack that has been largely funded by Communist Chinese, consisting of domestic civil war, uprising of Black Lives Matter militants who have been heavily armed with automatic weapons and are intent on killing whites, Christians, conservatives, and Trump supporters. In addition, Black Lives Matter is already receiving enormous funding through U.S. corporations such as McDonald's, Netflix, Google, and others who have pledged almost $500 million so far. So it's like a quasi-communist, technocratic, corporatized technocracy, okay? That'd be a great way of explaining that. A border invasion consisting of armed Mexican narcos that have been trained by Chinese military instructions, have given heavy military weapons paid for by China, to release financial weapons against America, including China selling off U.S. Treasury debt and announcing its own gold-backed currency. That's what's so dangerous about the central banking. Okay, I was always against that. The unleashing of emotionally charged, drooling left-wing zombies who have been whipped up into a frenzy by a treasonous left-wing media push to liberally fake news, such as claiming America is a racist nation or that Trump himself is racist. Like him or not, it's absurd. You know, like I said, I'm critical towards Trump at times, a good amount of times, based on his actions, and that's it. All right. The continued chemical warfare against America via fentanyl, heroin, and other drugs that are devastating America's young males who might otherwise be capable of serving in a military draft, if not the fact that they are now trembling drug addicts, the likely deployment of EMP weapons against America using stolen technology, unleashing a Pearl Harbor attack that could kill 9% of the American population. This was the subject of a recent bombshell authorized by Dr. Vincent Pry and filed under EMP Task Force on National Homeland Security. You can read my coverage at this link on nationalsecurity.news and see the official site of the task force. You can look that up. It's emptaskforce.us from that article. And of course, hold on here. The EMP weapon that China is perfecting will destroy the power grid, collapse the United States of America into mass starvation, chaos, and economic collapse. Though this seems to be exactly what Democrats want for America, it's obvious a very dangerous scenario. This achieves China's goal of eliminating the American people without destroying the natural resources and farmland through the use of nuclear weapons. So they don't want that. They don't want, which contaminates soil for 3 centuries, which radioisotopes. So they don't want to use nuclear weapons. They want to make it conventional the most they can because agriculture. All right? Because right now it looks like China, what I read so far, a lot of information about China as a whole, a lot of areas are so damn polluted and they can't even grow their food. So it's like, it's insane. A lot of those areas, it's insane. And the people there, the beautiful Chinese people in that region, in that jurisdiction, are suffering as well. So, and it says here, as Pry explains in a report, a highly computerized open society like the United States is extremely vulnerable to electronic attacks from all sides. This is because the U.S. economy, from banks to telephone systems and from power plants to iron and steelworks, rely entirely on computer network. Always have extra options, always keep them open. Once the American people begin to die off in large numbers, China will stage a military invasion to occupy America and kill any remaining resistance. At that point, China will claim America for itself and begin a mass migration effort to colonialize America with communist Chinese. And I'll tell you one thing: anyone that's aiding and comforting these bastards, okay, the CCP government, you're going to be taken out. Mark my words. If this prevails, you're going to get shafted, terminated, including your families, one way or the other. You're just a bunch of demonites through their game, plus the New World Order. All right? And all of this has been meticulously documented by people like J.R. Nyquist. You can go to his website on that one, Dave Hodges, both of them who I've interviewed about these critical issues, and there's videos on that as well. So definitely check it out. So definitely check this out. There's really good stuff here. And of course, he did another interview here, a recent interview with Hodges about the coming invasion of America by Chinese troops. Check it out. There's a lot of video links on video footage on this link, so please check it out, folks. I've just also posted an interview with Scout from Brush Beater, who warns of the coming civil war and makes specific recommendations about communications gear, night vision, training protocols, and much more. If you have any desires to survive the civil war, which has already begun, you need to listen to this interview. So I recommend everyone check that out. And now you know why this website is blocked by Facebook, Google, YouTube, and Twitter. Because big tech is on the plan to destroy America, and they are all working with communist China to achieve this end game. This is why you need to immediately move to alternative platforms such as Parler.com. And there's some controversy about Parler. Parler, it looks like the symbol is very Zionist related, but always observe responsibly. Spreely.com, Gad.com, Brighton.com, etc., where you can share critical stories without censorship. I'm going to have to check on Spreely myself, and you can subscribe to the newsletter and all that. So, yeah, folks, share this important story. Everyone you can, get geared up for the coming war, because you'll be literally be fighting for your own survival. So you always got to prepare. Remember, it's all about the one world order, folks. Tribulation and all that. Doesn't matter what your belief system is got to be ready for it. And I can tell you this, in the long view, they're going to fail. The order is going to fail. So, always got to prepare yourself. I'm ready for this, Lord willing. I got a few more things I do. But overall, I'm preparing myself physically, spiritually, and all that. And remember this, my friends. Resisting the tyrants is obedience to God. Disturbing times, but exciting as well. So that's why you always got to examine the bigger picture. Who cares about the petty crap? Little small stuff. Even people have relationships, they're back together, which is good. Because I always tell them, a lot bigger things are happening. And please, folks, do it for everyone you care for, including yourselves. This is why on my show, always been pro Bill of Rights, natural law, no exceptions. I never fall for a bandwagon game, faction game. I always stick to my principles, and that's why people in those paradigms hate me more than you. And I don't regret it one bit, because I don't give a damn. All right, I'm gonna do one more here. It looks like it's wow, that's a pretty long article. One more here, folks, and this came out about Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell and others notes from the Edge of Narrative Matrix. It's from Caitlin Johnstone, and she's out in Australia now. Always admire her work, folks. So, and as it reads here, how cute! Look at these! Look at these Three Stooges, and definitely there's Howard Weinstein there. It says here, like so many other things in the Ghislaine Maxwell buzz, would be a lot more interesting without the dumbass partisan angles people are putting on it. People fixate on the Trump angle or the Clinton angle when it's clear they've all been manipulated by forces that are far more powerful than they are. The real story is the fact that the APIQ and unaccountable intelligence agencies use child sex slavery to blackmail powerful world leaders and manipulate our society. It is weird that people focus anywhere else. Anyway, it's not like this is going to bring down anyone with real power. Even if Ghislaine survives, don't get your hopes up that her arrest will affect elite power structures in any meaningful way. The FBI is a swamp. The DOJ is a swamp. The swamp will never drain the swamp. Maxwell, like Epstein, was never the lead player in the sexual blackmail op. This is at the time no reason to believe anyone's coming for the intelligence operatives or their oligarch allies who were actually running the ring. So the thing. So remember, they're just employees, not the employers. That's what she's saying. I call them like the ticket takers or ticket tellers. Okay, that's what Ghislaine, Maxwell, and even Jeffrey Epstein. Like he was in that. So it is in a society that is dominated by violent extremists. The moderate mainstream ideology is actually extremism, and their same path towards stability looks radical. When the war, oppress, exploitation, and ecocide are the status quo, those who just want health and harmony are painted as extremists, while mainstream centrists will acknowledge that our current undoing things is unsustainable. They resist making meaningful change. This is because the cognitive glitch humans have called status quo bias, which can cause us to fallaciously equate change with danger. Remember, when you're a kid and you get stuck up a tree, but you couldn't bring yourself to climb down by clinging into a sway branches felt safe compared to the risk of descending, you'd be clinging to the high branches, and your mother will call up. Well, you can't stay there. And you knew she was right when but the prospect of climbing down was terrifying. That's very concentrated example of status quo bias. Change is needed, but it's so scary. That's where we're at right now. The only thing that keeps us so-called centrism going. These centrists maintain their ideology because we live in an increasingly scary time, in which means they are stuck up in a strange tree where they could they know things that they need to change, but they can't bring themselves to actually push it for it, because what if I lose? What little still I have? War is the worst thing in the world by far. If the rank and file could see the past veiled propaganda and distortion and objectively see the war horrific thing that it is, and it will immediately become everyone's foremost priority. Hence all the war propaganda. The continued Afghanistan occupation is like the cops stormed a house, shot a bunch of people, realized they got the wrong house, and would never find the guy they're looking for by standing there. Stayed away, moved on. All right? Moved in. And then 10 years later, they can't move out because they heard a rumor that the neighbors are trying to make them leave. The fact that mainstream news outlets consistently refuse to account for something as basic as indisputable as intelligence agencies being known liars should by itself fully discredit the entire institution of the mass news reporting. The Julian Assange story is being written right now, whether you like it or not. In 10 years, when the movies come out with Colin Hanks playing his Nils Metzer as the truth-seeking protagonist who would not give up, which side of the story you'd be able to say you're on. People who believe in China is responsible for America's coronavirus problems are even dumber than the people who believe Russia is responsible for Trump's presidency. Hey, I told people on my show for many years, I gotta agree with Miss Johnstone on this one. I told everybody this. Look, the Chinese Party are the cooks, but not the chefs. They didn't create the menu, okay? They're just following the instructions. So I'll just continue on here. Stop calling homegrown U.S. illness Trump's America. You just see America. You just see in America. As it has always been. Trump is a fruit of America. Trump arose from America. The nation isn't Trump's America. The nation's president is America's Trump. People who hide behind irony are just a more boring version of people who hide behind humor. Supporting censorship on online speech is to support the authority of monopolistic tech oligarchs to exert more and more control over human communication, regardless of the attitude toward whoever happens to be getting the platform today. Supporting this is suicidal. I spent most of this month talking about U.S. police brutality, which made me a deep state shill the last few days. I've been criticizing the latest Russia vape psyop, so now they say that I'm a Trump shill. Whenever the West Bank annexation happens, I'll be a Jew-hating Nazi. It's been a wild ride. And she's right. It's just the whole faction game, folks, you know. It's so pathetic, you know. This is how these people say. People who say privilege isn't real, they earned everything they got. And they're just telling you they never done any honest inner work. With a few humble introspection, you quickly see how little you had to do with the preconditions who led to your circumstances. And I just I get a big kick out of this stuff. So, you know. So I'm gonna continue on here. I love these quotes. It sounds like a little bit left field on this matter, but you know what? It's pretty damn cool. I like how she's doing this. And of course, if people who say privilege isn't real, people who say privilege isn't real, they earned everything. They are really just telling you they've never done any honest inner work. With a humble introspection, you quickly see how little you had to do with the preconditions which led to your circumstances. The real revolution is an expansion of consciousness in all directions. Consciousness of oppression and exploitation, of corruption and imperialism, of propaganda and manipulation, of unjust social and economic dynamics, of your own egoic structures and unconscious mental habits. People can't change things they're unaware of. Once they're fully aware of them, change is inevitable. From the white rabbit down the hole, you learn that our world is ruled by psychopaths using violence, plutocracy, and propaganda. Follow it even further and you'll learn they were ultimately ruled by no one, and the self is an illusion, and the world is not as it seems. These are nice little quotes here. And I like this final one. You thought you were storming the gates of heaven to become a full realized Buddha, but that turned out to be a character in a video game being played on a beautiful summer day by a child with the popsicle stained lips who simply set down the controller, got up, and went outside. Well, you're welcome, Caitlin, for narrating this article. Like I said, my friends, don't follow the hype. Read between the lines. Observe responsibly. Connect the dots the best you can. And even share your input with others. They may have a knack that you don't, and vice versa. That makes humanity so beautiful. And that's why I encourage everyone to go a lot further than what they teach you. And even people in China, communist China, they're ticked off as well. They don't like their government. You gotta always beware. Choose your battles wisely. And sometimes that nation right now, for example, part of the Rothschild Foundation, Ghislaine, like Maxwell, just an employee for the globalists. So was Jeffrey Epstein, which I know he never killed himself. I said it. Too bad. Well, always examine facts. the best you can. No rhetoric. And judge for yourselves. And you know what? That will be it. Well, thank everyone for listening. And please feel free to download and share us to your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, if you send something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Furthermore, I will leave the footnotes of these articles on my Spreaker page. And I encourage everyone to give these people some support, do some donations. That'll be great. Yeah, I'll always support everything I try to narrate. I like to see everyone support them one way or the other. In addition, if you want to send me some contributions, you can hit me at paypal.me/LokiLuck3. All right, folks. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.